It is an honor today to introduce our Sunday speaker, Maggie Simmons. From the first time I met Maggie, I was here at Fellowship. It's been over a year now, and ever since then I've been inspired. She has an amazing commitment to helping others heal and grow. She's a compassionate friend, and she works diligently in our community to embrace others and accept them just as they are. She serves and loves wholeheartedly. And in today's message, she's going to be sharing her experiences, strength, hope, and healing through her recovery. And in sharing her truth, she helps the sick and the suffering. Through recovery, she's found faith and purpose, and Maggie has dedicated her life to being of service to others and showing by example that no matter how dark it may seem, there is always a way out through faith, love, light, and healing. So please join me in welcoming our speaker, Maggie Simmons.
How am I supposed to follow that? No, I was kidding. Thank you, Candace. Hi, how's everybody doing? Hope everyone's feeling magical today. Can y'all hear me okay? All right. So we have this saying in recovery, right? God can be of your own understanding, right? And so I'm like, okay, that's awesome. It's a great concept, but just don't make it a doorknob because it will turn on you. Ha ha ha. All right, everyone's loose. Is everybody loose? Okay. So yeah, I have wanted and needed God for an exceedingly long time, like my entire life. And growing up, I learned from a very young age that people I love either hurt me or abandoned me. So I began a journey of just living in constant fear, constant anxiety, and self-pity, to be honest. And I lived my life that way for a very, very long time. And I became a single parent at a young age. I was 19 years old, and I was so grateful because I finally had something to love, right? I wanted to love and to be loved, right? Isn't that what everybody wants, right? And so I was grateful, but I was also really scared. I was just a kid. I was scared, and it was really, really hard. So I found a friend in liquid form that was terrible for me, really unhealthy. It was alcohol. And but I loved it. I loved it, and it was my best friend. It was my solution for everything. And it was my solution for a really long time, for 3 decades. And I drank, and I was trying to fill a hole that was deep, deep inside of me. And I thought it was just anxiety, but it was just this hole in my soul. And no matter how much I drank, no matter how many relationships I had, no matter how many times I moved, and I moved a lot, because I did the geographical thing where I'm like, oh, well, if I move here, or if I get this job, or if I get this relationship, it'll fix it, right? Well, it didn't do that, because no matter where I went, I took me with me, right? So, that was the thing. What it really was a spiritual malady. I had a spiritual illness, and I didn't know. I seeked God one time, and I had a bad experience, and I shut down. I shut my mind, my ears, and my heart just snapped shut. And I was like, nope, God doesn't love me, and that's it. I'm not going to go that route. And I didn't understand that I could change my perspective. I just didn't know. So like I said, I lived my life that way for a really long time, and it was my only normal one. I drank with people who drank like me, and it was like I was in this illusion my whole life. And so 10 years later, I had another child and no successful relationships. You would think that would be a clue, right? A red flag, like nothing's working out, but that's okay. It's just normal for me. In my experience, it was normal anyway. And, and that was great and everything. And I kept living my life the way I was living my life, just blaming everybody else. Nothing was my fault. It was just the world was against me, and I was wearing my biggest mask, and that was I'm independent. I'm an independent woman. I managed to keep my job, and I was successful because I had a job, and I was taking care of my children the best I knew how, and I was great. Life was great. It was good. Life was good. So 2.5 years ago, my life started, my foundation, right? I thought my foundation was solid. This is in my illusion, my crazy brain. I'm a little bit crazy, but in a good way now. In my brain, I was solid. I had a solid marriage, and I was happy. I thought I was happy. And my foundation started to break down, just brick by brick by brick, and I did not expect it to happen, and it really just brought me to my knees. And I had been in situations before, I don't have enough time to tell you my full story, but before where I had lost my freedom, I had lost my home, I had lost important relationships, I was financially irresponsible, all of these things, but I still kept drinking because that was my solution. It was my solution, it was the only thing that made me feel better. So, and at this point I still didn't stop, because I had an illness, right? And I was not walking in faith at all. I thought God wanted nothing to do with me. And I was like, where is God in all of this? Where are you, God? I didn't realize that, well, perhaps, Maggie, you should seek God, right? like God works for me, right? Like God's going to come to me. Maybe I should seek God. But this moment really was a wake-up call for me. One of many, but this time, for some reason, this time it brought me to my knees, and I cried out, and I was just like, God, please help me, please help me. And I didn't know that it was going to work, and I had no idea. And so slowly but surely, things started happening, which looking back now, I can only see as divinely guided. And it didn't all happen at once, and it didn't happen in the way that I was like, that I would say, I want this to happen for me, like my husband left me, I didn't want that to happen, but it had to happen. It had to happen. I mean, it was God's will, not my will. And so things started to happen, and I went to this church that I would never go to. It was like in this strip mall in Chesapeake, and I got prayed over. And for the first time in my life, I had peace in my heart. And that hole, that large, deep hole, and I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about, but that hurts so bad. It's so painful. Started to fill. It started to feel a little bit better, right? So that was the beginning of surrendering to God, to faith, to, the God of my understanding. And that's another thing, right? Like, I always thought that, no, it's okay. I like to cry. Thanks, though. Crying is very therapeutic, but thank you. It didn't have to be the God that I grew up with or like what my parents believed. It could be my own relationship with my Creator. It could be a personal thing. It didn't have to be what people told me it had to be, and it's a beautiful thing. So that was the first step, and then after that, these things started happening, and then I started to just surrender a little bit more and a little bit more. And then I started to get sober. And then God put people in my life that started to show me a way to live without alcohol. And I never thought that I could go even 1 hour without drinking. And here I am, like almost 2 years sober. Thanks. But it's like, it's a lot of work, but I started to do the work, right? I started to go within. And, I found out that, like, yes, people hurt me, but I hurt them too, right? Like, I had a part, and I started to really look at that. I started to see the truth about myself. I started to, like, just go really deep inside, and like, I had all these resentments against people that hurt me, but I flipped it around and I looked at it and I was like, well, Maggie, yeah, they hurt you, but you hurt them too. And there are certain people in my life I never thought that I could forgive, right? That really hurt me, but I forgave them because God forgave me. God forgave me, so why wouldn't I forgive them, right? And it's the right thing to do, and it's not about me anymore. And I began to walk in faith, and I began to talk with God every day, like multiple times a day, and not just like, I used to put God on a shelf, right? I used to put God on a shelf and take him down when I wanted something or when I was like, in trouble or whatever. I don't do that anymore. I pray every day. I help other people. I show people the way out. I shine my light from within to let people know that there is hope. I used to think the only way out was through substance abuse or trying to kill myself, which I've tried to do that before too. And there are other ways. I walk in faith today. I'm not fearful all the time. And when I am fearful, I have a different way. I ask God for help. I ask God to remove my fear. I talk to somebody, I pray about it, and I go help someone else. And it's a beautiful thing. And it works. And I had this whole change of perspective. And by doing this inner work, by doing the healing work, that hole is filled. This spiritual malady, it's like, God saved me. I went down in the depths of hell, and God pulled me out. And it's amazing. And this love that I was looking for, this love my whole life, and I'm 52, y'all. My whole life, this love that I was looking for. It turns out the best love of all is God's love. It's God's love. And I'm just like, I'm blown away. I am blown away. And so like my mission now is I help others. Every single day, I walk in faith and I help other people the best way that I can. Every morning I wake up and I ask God, I say, God, what is your will for me? How can I be helpful in the way that you want me to be helpful? Who would you have me help today? What can I do to be of service to you and your children? And that's what I do today. And it is a beautiful life. And I'm just happy, healthy, and whole today. And I did not think that I could get here today. And I love to share my story because there are so many people that are out there still sick and suffering that don't know that there's a way out, that they don't know there's a way to live sober, happy, healthy, and free, And that quote, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. I found out the truth about myself. I found out the truth about God. And I'm free today. I'm free from the bondage of self. It's amazing. It's amazing. So if you're out there and you're suffering in silence, you don't have to. There is so much hope. There is so much hope. So I will never dim to fit in. I will shine my light from within so other people can see that there is hope. So please go within so you don't go without. Thanks for letting me share.